Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support, and thank you for going on this journey through our past and our present. Today, we're going to talk about Dunbar High School in Washington, D.C. This school was well known throughout the late 1800s and the 1900s. This school was a school of excellence, and the students at that school excelled beyond what the wealthy white children did in the Washington, D.C. area. And you would think that this would be something that America would be proud of. That is not the case. Before schools integrated in the United States, Black students were excelling better than what they're doing now. There was an appreciation for education and support for education. But since the schools so called integrated, there has been a deterioration of test scores, of interest in school, and in school performance by Black students. So you have to wonder what's up that when Black students were excelling in school, all of a sudden now we needed to integrate. Now we've integrated so called for the better, and our educational performance, everything is worse than it was before integration. But for a moment in time, Dunbar High School was a beacon of light, of excellence, of innovation, of discovery, and of pride.
In 1870, just 5 years after the Civil War, a school called the Preparatory High School for Colored Youth opened in Washington, D.C. It became the first public high school for Black students in the United States. Now, the school started in the basement of 15th Street Presbyterian Church. That's what was available, and they made it work. The school was made possible by William Syphax, the first president of D.C.'s Board of Trustees for Colored Schools, which was established in 1868. He fought for this school to exist and for Black students to receive the same education as their white peers. By the 1890s, the school had a staff full of Black scholars. One of them was Anna Julia Cooper, who later became the principal. In 1925, she became one of the first Black women in U.S. history to earn a PhD. And most Black schools were underfunded and overcrowded. This school here taught Latin, calculus, literature, and science. And colleges around the country took notice too, including Ivy League schools, and they actively recruited from this school, even during segregation. Now, the school was renamed M Street High School in 1891 and Dunbar High School in 1916. This was in honor of the poet Paul Laurence Dunbar. This facility right behind me opened in 2013, but make no mistake, it's more than just a school building. This is a monument of what happens when students are believed in, invested in, and expected to lead. Dunbar High School, the first public high school for Black students in the United States of America, right here in the nation's capital. How's that for some Black history?
From the early 20th century to the 1950s, Dunbar became known as the classical academic high school for Black students in segregated public schools. As all public school teachers were federal civil servants, the school's teachers received pay equal to white teachers in other schools in the district. It attracted high-quality faculty, many with advanced degrees, including doctorates. Parents sent their children to the school from across the city because of its high standards. Many of its alumni graduated from top-quality colleges and universities and gained professional careers. The reason they had such high qualified teachers is because those teachers went to Ivy League schools and could not find work as accountants or scientists or engineers, things that you would expect them to be able to go into positions in the workforce with those degrees, but they couldn't get hired. So they ended up teaching high school, and the money that they were making teaching high school equaled what it would make if they had gone into corporate America. As was noted in the video, it started in the basement of a church named M Street School, and it was renamed in 1916 for the poet Paul Laurence Dunbar. As the city established other high schools, Dunbar was designated as its academic high school, with other schools providing more vocational or technical training. Back in those days, it was believed that Black students needed to learn how to work with their hands because they didn't have the brain capacity to absorb intellectual learning. Also, Black schools were typically named the industrial school or the vocational school or a technical school. It wasn't just a regular high school. They did that so that anybody listening would know that it was a school for the coloreds. Dunbar was known for its excellent academics, enough so that some parents moved to Washington so their children could attend Dunbar High School. Now, that's how much value Black parents placed on education in those days. They moved to Washington, D.C., so their children could attend this school of excellence. The school boasted many graduates who went on to higher education and a generally successful student body. As a matter of fact, they had a high degree of students who went on to Ivy League schools and excelled. So, this is what the Black American conservative scholar Thomas Sowell wrote about Dunbar High School in an article, and I'll just share part of it. In 1899, when it was called the M Street School, a test was given in Washington's four academic public high schools, three white and one black. The black high school scored higher than two of the three white high schools. Today, it would be considered utopian, much less expect to see happen. The M Street School had neither of two so called prerequisites for quality education. There was no diversity. It was an all black school from its beginning and on through its life as a high quality institution under the name Dunbar High School. But its days as a high quality institution ended abruptly in the middle of the 1950s after it became just another failing ghetto school. How could all of this come to an abrupt end in the 1950s? Like many other disasters, it began with good intentions and arbitrary assumptions. When Chief Justice Earl Warren declared in the landmark 1954 case of Brown versus Board of Education that racially separate schools were inherently unequal, Dunbar High School was a living refutation of that assumption, and it was within walking distance of the Supreme Court. So he's blaming it on Brown versus Board of Education that this school came to an end. A higher percentage of Dunbar graduates went on to college than the percentage at any white public high school in Washington. But what do facts matter when there is heady rhetoric and crusading zeal? There is no question that racially segregated schools in the South provided an inadequate education for blacks. But the assumption that racial integration was the answer led to years of racial polarization and turmoil over busing with little, if any, educational improvement. Well, I would agree to that. There were schools that were underfunded and that were really not adequate to educate children, but many of them were, even in the South. For Washington, the end of racial segregation led to a political compromise in which all schools became neighborhood schools. Dunbar, which had been accepting outstanding black students from anywhere in the city, could now accept only students from the rough ghetto neighborhood in which it was located. Yeah, that would have been a disadvantage. Virtually overnight, Dunbar became a typical ghetto school. As unmotivated, unruly, and disruptive students flooded in, Dunbar teachers began moving out and many retired. More than 80 years of academic excellence simply vanished into thin air. Nobody, black or white, mounted any serious opposition. Integration was the cry of the moment, and it drowned out everything else. That is what happens in politics. Today, there is a new Dunbar High School building costing more than $100 million, but its graduates go on to college at only about half the rate of Dunbar graduates in earlier and poorer times. Politics can deliver costly favors even when it cannot deliver quality education. Well, I'm sure that integration did harm to that school just like it did many other schools. And white people would make the same claim that their schools are worse because of integration. So, integration was not the only answer. It should have been part of the answer to America's public schools, but it should not have been the only answer. There are cases when black children should have stayed in predominantly black schools, not bussed all over the place, and taught by black teachers who could relate to them on a cultural and an emotional level. So I do agree with Thomas Sowell in some of this, but I don't agree with most of what he says. But anyway, y'all, this is Dunbar High School, and it was the first public high school for black students in the United States, and it was a school of excellence. Okay, y'all, let me know what you think about the video. Thank you for listening and have a good evening.